Hi, I'm Heather Lloyd.
Hi, I'm Kendall Taggart.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Kelly.
And you're listening to the Real.to podcast, a show where we speak to leading women in real estate. Okay. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi. I feel like it's been a while.
I know. It's been a week, but it feels like it's been a while. Maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, since we had been in here.
Yeah, I just missed you guys. I see you every day. My goodness. Missed you guys in this capacity.
So, what have you been up to?
Well, you know.
I feel like we lucked out. Today is so beautiful outside finally.
I know.
Oh my gosh. It's supposed to be miserable tomorrow, but it's so beautiful right now. So.
18 degrees.
You know, when we were driving up here, there's that field just on the north side of the Gardner, and you could see all the kids. I don't think I've seen kids out there playing in a long time. So I was like, whoa, look at them.
I know.
It's spring cleaning time. I tried to, so we have a hockey net that my son doesn't play hockey, but my husband bought this hockey net like years ago, and it sits in our driveway because we live in a townhouse, so we don't have like sides to our house. And so I put it on like our street chat to get rid of it, and it was like kind of like people don't want me to get rid of it. They want the children to have the net to play with, and I was like,
and keep it at your house.
And keep it at my house. And I was like, I'm all for the net being communal on the street, but I don't want it on my driveway anymore. Like somebody needs to take this thing. So anyway, I think it's found a home.
They're contentious.
Yeah.
Like,
there's something about hockey nets. So like, because when I was looking at my house, like my house before I bought it, there's like a little cul-de-sac right on the end of my street, and we were kind of driving around the neighborhood, and Peter was like, there's a hockey net in the cul-de-sac, like not next to anyone's house, just on the road. And they're like, it's like, Hugh could just play hockey. I'm like, he's 3. And he's like, but eventually he could. I'm like, I don't know if the hockey net is going to be there.
I think
for that many years. And
like
it has.
Kind of nostalgic or like Canadiana about street hockey. Like that's what the comment was. It's like, well, the kids all play street hockey, and does nobody play street hockey anymore? And I was like, no, that's not the case. It's just I'm happy for people to play. The net does get used. It's just not exclusively by my son, and my son doesn't even play hockey. So it is really like a street net that's just sitting on my property.
You just don't want it on your driveway.
Yeah, just can we get it off my driveway?
Just take it.
That's it. Somebody take it. Yeah.
If your kid wants to play with it, then you can keep it at your house.
Yes.
And it's free.
It's free, yeah. It's tattered, but it's free. So, so yeah, spring cleaning is, I feel like that's the start of it. I got lots to do this weekend. I have big plans for spring cleaning.
I know. I have a ton.
Yeah, Johnny was off on Easter Monday, so he did the side of the house and the deck. I was looking outside and I was like, look at those twigs. These all need to go. I need to clean this up. And I came home and it was
Did it?
Done?
It was done and it was
wow.
perfect.
That
and
would not happen in my world.
Yeah, well, Peter is like, because he works in, he's a general contractor, so every site he has, if they have like extra material or wood or whatever, he stores it at the side of my house, and it drives me crazy.
Nope.
And so, like, and it's been there, and it's been piling up. Anyways, I love you, Peter, but he did do a massive dump run and like got rid of like all this stuff, which is great. But we still have a lot of wood. But he's like, well, I can make a deck and I can do this, and I'm like, okay, but when?
I will say I do enjoy a good dump run. Like I love going to the dump.
Did I tell you that like satisfying. In the town I grew up in, like the free dump days were like, it was like a holiday. Like there would be like, I'm not kidding you guys. Like it was like, are you going to free dump days? I can't remember what it was called, but you'd be like, ask your friend, like we're going to free dump days,
was
right?
it like lineups of pickup trucks, like ready to
and you'd spend time
dump?
In there. Like you would tailgate in
You'd
the dump.
socialize in the dump?
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
I mean, Squamish. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I know. No, I remember it being like this big thing. And there would be cars lined up to the highway.
I mean, as a dump enthusiast, I feel like, I don't want to hang out in the dump, especially on hot summer days. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why it was so exciting. Like there's so many things like now from like my childhood of this town that I grew up in that I'm like, that's weird.
Well, it's funny because like at the cottage, we'd have to do dump runs when we were little, and everyone was so excited because we could possibly see a bear.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Maybe that's like our parents always said, they're like, we got to go for a dump run. You might see a bear. And maybe I'm just like, they were just trying to convince us to go.
I think there's a big difference though between like a dump bear and like a forest, like
I don't want to see a bear in the forest, but
like I think they're probably like more docile, mangy at the dump, and like
they've eaten. They're not as hungry.
They're like they're not as
they're not
as desperate.
Yeah. What kind of bears are they? Are they black bears, brown bears?
They're just
I don't know. What's bigger, a black bear?
I don't think we have brown bear. Well, we do. Sorry,
not bears, right?
Well,
brown bear.
So we have they're black bears.
I think those ones are the more friendly ones.
Blackberries. So
Okay.
we almost hit a bear on the way to Algonquin. It ran in front of our car, and we had to do the swerve. And that was a big brown bear. Anyways.
Oh, wow. Well, again, we're in territory talking about things we don't know much about. Friendly bears and such.
I'm going to start crying.
All right, moving on. So we have a really great show today. We've got Natasha Rubin-Coupland from TD, who is in charge of strategic partnerships within real estate across Canada. So very excited to chat with her. She's also a certified leadership coach. So lots to talk about.
I'm really excited to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. All right, let's do it.
This episode is brought to you by Brady's LLP. Through every changing market and economic season, Brady's LLP's mission has been to provide their clients with exceptional service. For decades, they've partnered with developers, builders, lenders, and visionaries who shape the community around us. Their clients move fast, and so do they. Whether it's navigating land development, structuring commercial transactions, or advising on the deals that drive the growth across the GTA, Brady's brings a deep expertise and a commitment to exceptional service. 70 years in, and their mission remains the same, to help their clients build what's next. To learn more about how Brady's LLP supports future of real estate development, visit brady.com. That's BRATTY.com.
All right, so today we are speaking with Natasha Rubin-Coupland from TD Bank. Hi, Natasha, how are you?
I'm great, Heather. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super
pleasure.
Excited.
Yeah. I am going to just start with a little bit of a blurb just so everybody knows exactly who we're speaking with. So Natasha, you are the Senior Manager of Builder, Realtor, and Strategic Partnerships at TD Bank, as well as a Certified Leadership Coach, which we are very excited to chat with you about. You have been at TD Bank for 35 years, which I was thinking about this earlier. I think that's the longest standing employee that we've had on this show. So that's amazing. Also something we're excited to chat with you about. Okay. Over your career, you've obviously explored several different positions at TD, but today you find yourself leading teams across the nation, which is exciting, and promoting, I guess, team collaboration, communication, and growth within TD. So welcome to the Real.to.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, we're, I think, we obviously, when we started the podcast, we had a list of people that we were excited to have on the show. And when we were chatting with Dion from your team, she was like, I know just the person that you need to have on. So you've been on our list for a while. So we're excited to have you here. Maybe to kick things off, 35 years is a really long time to be at one group. But it sounds like you've kind of explored so many different positions there. So maybe you can kind of take us through, I can say, your career journey. If there's something before TD, maybe tell us a little bit about that, or where maybe you thought you were going, where you're going to go with your career, and kind of how the path that you've taken to get to where you are.
Yeah, certainly. It's I never thought I would be here, one bank, one company for 35 years. If you told me that when I was 18, I'd never believe it. But it's the journey started, as a child growing up in Toronto, which I love the city, and part-time job. So when we're all in high school, we're looking for that. What is that job that's going to give us pocket change and, has a bit of a cool factor. So I actually started off my working career officially probably at the Hudson's Bay, if you remember. Our beautiful stores we used to have.
I miss it.
I know, right? Yeah. And so I went to high school downtown Toronto. So I worked at the flagship store part-time, and I was my girlfriends and I were the ones on the switchboard. Okay. And for those who don't know what a switchboard is.
Yeah, you probably have to define that.
Yes, it was where you would, if you called the store, or if you're in the store and you heard an announcement that said, "Hello, shoppers, we have a special today," or "We're closing." That was us. So we would do that after school. So after school, we'd walk up to the bay, and a few of us, and we had this part-time job that we did. So it all started there, and it was great. And one day, a family friend in my community, she worked for the bank at the time, and she said, "We're going to be going extended hours. So the bank's going to open up in evenings on weekends. And she says, hey, would you like to apply? And I was like, well, I'm having a good time with my girlfriends at the Bay. Like, who needs the bank, right? And so, you know, moms are very influential in most of our lives. And so
it's good to know. It's good to hear that.
Right?
I'm influential. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Eventually we say that, not when we're young and stupid.
That's right.
And she said, I was like, oh yeah, there's this job at the bank. And she's like, well, you should go for it. It might lead somewhere.
Right.
And so,
sure enough,
those were her words.
Wow.
And here we are today. And so, I started off part-time at a local branch and did many roles there. And all of us know the Canadian banking system. So I was that person in the evenings and weekends. And I had no intention of working for the bank beyond university. I was like, once I'm done university, I'm out of here and I'm going to travel. And my goal was to become an accountant.
Okay.
I thought I loved numbers. Actually, the truth is I didn't love numbers. But do you remember in high school when we had like career options?
Yeah.
And back, because I'm older, we used to have a book. And in that book, it would show professions in alphabetical order and the earning range.
Right.
I don't even remember that.
I
Yes,
remember
I
this.
do.
Yeah. Kaylee probably doesn't.
I
but
did
we'll
not
talk about
have
that later.
Kaylee.
Yeah.
I'm definitely showing my age.
I'm also from the other side of the country, so possible it did translate.
That's right. Yeah. So I accounting, and so I was good in math, and that was one of my strengths. Okay, I'm going to pursue a CPA. I think that would be just good for me. So anyway, I say all that to say that that was where I was going to go. I was going to take time off school, and I go, well, life happens, and I met a lovely young man who we were dating. And so after graduation, I was going to quit. I was ready. I walked into my manager's office and I said, you know, thank you. It's been great, but I'm done. And unbeknownst to me, that this young man actually had gone to my manager and told her that he would be proposing to me.
No way.
I know, right? And so she's like, oh, no, you can't quit. We're actually going to create an opportunity for you. Like, we want you to stay to be part of our associate program. So banks have associate programs where you do rotations to eventually get more leadership opportunities.
That's pretty great. I don't know if I realized that.
So she said that there was this program and she would get me in, and I was still a bit resistant. But, of course, then I found out that the person that I cared about wanted to marry me. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to do the responsible thing and like actually get a job and start adulting and all that stuff. And so that's where kind of my career kind of really started in at the branch level.
Right.
And there's lots more, but
and then today, maybe tell us a little bit about what you're doing today. Like, obviously, many kind of like roles later, you find yourself in what sounds like a really interesting role. You get to travel quite a bit, it sounds like, and lead teams, which, you know, we'll get into it, but I think maybe leadership is kind of your thing. It's a little bit of your forte. So
it's certainly become my thing. And you don't know what you don't know when you're starting your career, right? And you're learning different things. You're learning yourself, and you're learning skill sets and what you like and what you don't like. And along the way, what I really enjoyed the most was helping people. And I say it kind of simple like that, is helping people. That's how I defined it when I was younger. And so I've had the opportunity in various parts of the bank to lead teams, and large teams, medium teams. And then I eventually became what we call an independent contributor, meaning I didn't have people reporting to me. And so that's when I entered the real estate part of the business.
Okay.
It was actually after one of my maternity leaves. I was originally in the insurance division, in our creditor protection division, and coming back off of mat leave, I was like, okay, I think I want to try something new. And I saw a posting, and it talked about builder and real estate, and I had no idea what that was, but it sounded interesting. And I think the point here is when you read about an opportunity or you see a job description and you're like, don't focus on what the qualifications are, but focus on what is that job and would I be interested in it.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, a good tip, and maybe something we talked about that before on the show with Robin. Was it with Robin that we spoke about it from Arcadis, where I think sometimes as women we discount ourselves, or we think we have to have all of the things on the checklist to be able to apply for a job, rather than just thinking, what is it that we want to do and could we do this job? And she made a reference to the fact that men would apply maybe having like 2% of the qualifications on there, where women will make sure that they've got everything checked off, which is a daunting thing to have to have everything checked off. So I think your point.
You're absolutely right. And I hear that over and over again from women. And I see it. I even observe it in my own children. I have 2 girls. And I see how we focus on what we don't have versus what we have. Right. In a lot of things. It's like what we don't have. And if we're able to rethink and train our minds as women, especially, to focus on what we have and not what we don't have in the context of applying for a role or a job, that will actually get us more of what we want or desire.
So what was it about the posting that made you go, that might be interesting. I might be interested in that.
Yeah, what was interesting was so in banking, you you're either lending money or you're taking money in. So money in or money out. And I had decided that I wanted my career to be on what we call the money outside, which is when we're lending people money, right? And in this case, it was mortgages. And so partly it was I wanted to focus on money out and home ownership and helping people achieve their home financing dreams.
Right.
And it was not as deep as I'm saying it now, because if I think back, I don't think I was that strategic. I saw it looked interesting, and I went for it.
Right.
And I applied, and the role was in our real estate secured lending. So that is part of the bank that lends people money to finance their home.
Right.
And that particular role was in new construction, so focusing on putting together a program to help buyers when they're buying new construction. And that was 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's kind of when the condo market or new construction kind of like really started I know that it's been going on for a long time, but I feel like that would be when it really
there
started.
was a bit like the pickup kind of started. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So were you kind of entering at like the grassroots of that, of like when it was just starting to take off and building a program to help people get into pre-construction?
Yeah, that's exactly when I came in, and it was shortly after when the 2 banks merged. So it was TD and Canada Trust, and they came together, and so we were looking to stand up a very strong program to support our builder clients and also our Canadians who needed mortgage financing. So I was pretty fortunate to be a part of it. But once I found it, I was like, this is where I want to be.
That's a good feeling.
So
Yeah.
And it's very uncommon for someone to stay in a similar role for a long time. And even as I'm saying it feels kind of like, oh, you did the same thing for 20 years.
But there's something that kept you there.
Yeah.
So what is that kept you there?
Yeah. So a couple of things kept me there. One, the people, right? And I say the people and also the industry. And so as I learned, I got closer to the new home industry, especially in GTA, because my area was GTA and Eastern Ontario. As I got closer to the industry, I really fell in love with the industry, because it was like I was having 2 careers at once. I was in 2 industries. I'm in finance, in banking, but I'm also in new homes, especially close to the sales and marketing side because of our interaction model. So I really, really enjoyed the industry. I also, growing up, my mom was a single mom. She came here in the 70s, like under the domestic immigration program. We never owned a home. As a matter of fact, as a child, I didn't even I knew very few people that owned a home.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Even though I grew up in Flemington Park, I didn't understand that concept. And even as I got older and went through high school, I had friends that probably their parents owned homes, but it wasn't a language or something that was in my thoughts. I never thought of it.
Right.
And so kind of fast forward, growing my career in the bank, being close to builders and new home sales professionals, and helping people achieve a dream of home ownership that, like, it kind of was like, wow,
Yeah.
I could actually help people with whether it be financial literacy. And while I'm not directly lending the money, there's our mobile mortgage specialists do that. I get to influence and help people with what I do.
That's amazing. There is something like very tangible about like home ownership and being able to be part of that process, which like we've spoken about it a few times with other guests. So being able to like have a product at the end of the work that you do and like see somebody get the keys to their new home and you've had some sort of contribution to that is pretty special. So I like that you reference it as like two jobs in a sense. That's interesting. I feel like you said you've been at TD, like you said, you kind of were doing the same thing for 20 years, but you couldn't possibly have been doing the same thing for 20 years.
You've been growing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the
evolving.
Evolution of like your role is probably is significant, I think. So, so today, what consumes your day?
So what consumes my day, especially in the last 3 years, so while I say 20 years, in the last about 3 years, so I've stayed in the same role. And I want to share something about staying in the same role because I partly also did it for my family life, work-life balance and how we wanted to raise our family. And the role I had being in that, say, for 18 years, allowed me a lot of flexibility and autonomy. And I used to worry about being, and I would say to my manager, like, is this going to like negatively impact me when I'm ready to take on other roles? And it was a concern for me, and it's often a concern for women, right? Because we make choices around our families. And but one of the most important things that I would call out is you could be in the same role for that length of time, but you still can be a top performer and a leader and making significant impact. And I would say I showed up that way, that I was always leading, always looking for opportunities to grow, taking on stretch assignments and other things. So I was never a solid performer. I was always above average. And so that certainly helped in terms of what happened in the last 3 years. So now I'm responsible for the entire team across Canada. And also part of our operations team, so our sales and distribution, as well as our operations. And that certainly has stretched me even more. But it's also given me the opportunity to help more people and demonstrate more leadership and what that looks like for others.
For your team to have that space to be able to communicate and connect, like it comes from the top, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
we always say it comes from the top. So I think that's a testament to your leadership. And that kind of, dovetails into, you've really leaned into the leadership side of things and now are certified leadership coach. So what made you really want to like dive into that and, kind of take that next step with your leadership role?
Yeah, so I've always loved to help people. And I keep saying this because when we think of helping, we don't think of that as like bold, strong skill sets, right? But I've always believed that the more people, my purpose is to help people. And the way that looks and feels in different spheres and in different stages of life is different. And so when I've managed people throughout the bank, involved in my community or volunteering, I've observed that everything that we do surrounds the human. Like we're living in an age of AI and people are worried that, you're going to lose your job, whatever. But the human being and the influence that we have on each other is so powerful. So whether that be like my grade 6 teacher, telling me that I could do something that I never thought I could do, or a colleague at the bank that is going through something, or just life is happening alongside your career, right? And you can't leave your life at home and then come to the office. And so I've been in positions where I've had to manage a lot of people. And I realized that the importance of having strong EQ, emotional intelligence, is part of a leadership skill to help people and help the business win. If you want to go far, I say if you want to go alone. If you want to go far, go with people. And so when you think of a team, if you want growth and you want to grow in your company or you want your business to grow, it's the people who drives the growth. Yeah. And it's not one person. And if it's one person, you're missing out. But if you can lean in on what teams need and what people need, then you can grow faster.
Do you find like emotional EQ is something that's underrated in business, and like perhaps in a corporate setting or in work environments in general? Or do you find it's something that maybe is on the rise in terms of being understood a little bit more?
It is definitely on the rise.
Right.
And I hear we speak about it more transparently now.
Yeah.
And when we think of what's important and you look at skill sets and when you look at hiring people, or we often, like in the old days, we'd be like, oh, she's really smart. Okay, but if her interaction with her team and people, that could be the death of a business. Yes, you're right. But if how I treat my colleagues and how I interact with my colleagues and how I interact with my leaders, even how I interact with senior people above me in the organization, that's all part of leadership. Yeah. And I think leadership is about leading yourself first so you could lead others.
I think, too, we spend so much time at work and with the people that we work with, like more so than home, typically. Yeah. So it's, I think, such a shame to be somewhere that you're not happy with or that you're not interacting successfully with the people around you. Like, I think if that is the case, it's almost worth it to find somewhere where you can do that, because it's just, I think it will impact your quality of life outside of work if you're not happy at work as well. So, yeah.
Leadership creates culture. Yeah. And the culture of an environment or a business is really how you retain employees or colleagues. And so you could be, a lot of people, and I think I saw a study recently, it was like why people leave an organization. And oftentimes the reasons they leave has to do with leadership styles. Right. Well,
I was going to say that dovetails perfectly into the next question, which is, in today's kind of world, whether it's a corporate setting or any sort of leadership setting, what are the things that you see leaders doing well, and what are the things you see them not doing as well?
I'd say that today leaders are more aware of the importance of the impact they have, not just on the P&L, the bottom line, but on the health of their colleagues. Right. And colleague or employee experience is really, really critical. I can think of more good than I can think
That's
of.
That's good, yeah.
Maybe because I do work for a company that is like, the culture is fabulous, like it really is, and this is not an ad for them or anything.
But you've been there for 35 years.
Right? That's an advertisement in itself.
And I would do the 35 years again, because under one brand, I've had so many different careers, and it really does come back to the people, the leaders that I've had, who, when I think of mentorship and I think of how I got great feedback, positive and negative, but how I was encouraged to grow. And so I've observed lots of positive and good leadership. Yeah. I would say if there was a bad leadership style, it's where you're not trusting and giving your colleagues or your employees ownership. Right? Where you think, well, I can't give this to you because I can just do it myself better. Like that's just an example of a leadership style of not empowering your people.
I think also, I'd say like insecurity sometimes can creep in on leaders where like they want to take the credit to solidify their position or their job kind of thing. So rather than, like you said, kind of delegating or giving autonomy to their team in order to like move forward, so that the credit doesn't fall with the leader necessarily, but with the team overall.
I think you had mentioned, I think we had a conversation before, and you mentioned that a great leader, or someone said, you're a great leader when the other person can do your job. Yeah.
And
I loved that. Yeah. I thought that was really amazing, because it is, as a leader, you are like teaching or mentoring or trying to help them get to the next step, but also like it helps the company grow. Like
it helps you grow as a
leader
if your
for
team
sure.
is doing successful things.
It was so funny because we were talking about this on the way here, but I have a great team, and I was joking because when we're there, the two of them are always laughing, and I'm just like, oh, I love this. And it's so nice. Like like we have a great. It's just it's a great culture, but like it's like I love that they have this. All of us have this relationship, so it makes you feel good to come in and be a part of that. So
that's good. Yeah, that's one of my not mottos, but mantras maybe. It's where. And I was taught this early in my life by a leader, a woman who said that your goal should be to work yourself out of a job. And when she said that to me, it's around, I should be the people that's on my team, they should be empowered, and I should be artfully delegating and helping them to grow by sharing the work, but not so that I do nothing, but that they grow and that they now are able and have skills and capabilities more than when they started with me.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're continually looking to say, if I won the lottery, I don't play, but if I won it, could someone on my team step into my role?
Exactly.
And that is a goal of mine always, is that always looking for talent, always identifying others. And I think as a leader, it's like, are we constantly looking for talent? And that may be talent for my team, maybe talent for somewhere else, but constantly looking out for where someone can fit.
You said a little while ago that you had that early on in your career, you had mentors and leaders that actually believed in you, probably more than you actually believed in yourself. How did that help you grow, like into your career, and did it help you develop along the way?
It is. I was reflecting on that question because I know we chatted earlier, but it started before I even entered the workforce. And this memory came back to me because I shared with you ladies that, growing up in the city, I came here as a child, to a single mom. And when I was in probably grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, I was in what they call special ed. So everyone knows what that is if you were like 80s or 90s kid, whatever. And I had a grade 6 teacher that came to me one day and he's like, why are you going to these special classes, right? We'd be taken out of the regular stream and put into a different stream. I was like, I don't know.
That's where they put me.
Right? Exactly. That's a weird question for a child. But I say that to say that that's when I recognized early in my life the importance of mentorship and sponsorship, and for others seeing something in you and actually saying it and acting on it. And so that example started grade 6 when my teacher, I still remember his name, he basically helped me get back into mainstream, so to speak. And then fast forward, I think, to grade 8, and I remember a teacher looking at our classroom and saying, there's no reason why any of you in this class shouldn't go to university.
Right.
And I remember that to this day, because that is another example of when you may not know it for yourself or believe it, but someone says it to you and it starts oh. And fast forward to banking and into the workforce, I had so many people that said you're capable of this, or I see this in you, or you're good at this, or I see you working in this area or doing these things. Right. And I really believe that's so important, because we could be a little bit narrow in our view as individuals. We want to be self-aware, but it takes a village. It takes others. It takes other women, especially for me, I think, other women saying I see this in you, Heather. I think you could be doing this thing. Right. And then you may be believing it, but it just kind of reaffirms the belief it's even there. Or it's it gives you that confidence and that boost to go for that next thing.
Totally. And I think even just your story about kind of the different milestones that you've hit throughout your life, you never know when you're going to say something or have an impact on somebody because of something that you said to them or what you see in them, kind of thing, to like propel them to that next level. So it is, I think sometimes we shy away from saying, like, providing these kind of pieces of feedback or compliments to people because sometimes it's, I don't know, awkward or whatever it is. But I think, like, just based on your story, it's just so valuable to state those things when you see them in other people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's even more important as a leader. So if you're leading a team of people or whatever that looks like, that you're looking for opportunities. And in the organization where I work, we're very intentional about that in terms of when I sit with you on a semi-annual or annual basis. It's not so much, while it is about your performance, but it's an opportunity to help that person and help them to grow.
Yeah.
Like, that point is not about a manager going, oh, this is what you didn't do. It's about you're doing well, and then what can we do better next time?
Right.
Like, even the word, like, we think of, like, what's your weakness? Like, we grew up with, no, what can we do better next time? Because it's always a learning and a failure, right?
Totally.
And so that's an example of, encouraging whoever it is. And maybe that person is not the right job, and you help them find another one. But we can still do that with strong, empathetic leadership.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us about your specific brand of leadership, because I think you've got a fairly defined kind of perspective on how you lead.
That's a great question, and
Sorry if I've thrown you.
No. I'm just thinking. So I would say, if I were to describe my style of leadership, it's what I call a people-first style of leadership, where when you're leading an organization, it is about usually about profit, unless you're in a nonprofit sector, right? And so the way that you're going to lead a team is, or even lead yourself or your family or whatever, it's always about the people, the person that's involved in that organization.
Yeah.
So if that organization is my home, it's about people first, meaning how that person's experiences with me as a leader is most important.
Right.
And meaning that I care about the outcome for that person. And the outcome for that person may not be what they think they want. Maybe it's offboarding someone that,
Right.
But you can offboard someone with a people-first approach that leaves them better than how I found them.
I think it's always hard to let go of someone, even if even if they don't fit or they don't belong, or maybe their skills are better set somewhere else. But I do think as a leader, you're running a team and your responsibility is to other people.
That's fair. Yeah.
To provide them with an environment that has the same sort of values or skill sets that they need to help them. So I think it's an important role to figure that out. I know that you've kind of helped me, like, throughout the time figure out those kind of things, but it is really valuable to make sure that you are.
That's a good point, Kendall. Yeah.
Yeah, that you can be that leader for your team that needs you.
I would say also for yourself.
For yourself too, yeah.
Like, if it's just something that unfortunately isn't fitting, or like bringing you down and just not empowering you to be able to do your job, that's not the best fit for your team either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
I agree. And that's where, when you think of the people, that was one person, but you have to think of the entire team.
Yeah.
So back to the conversation around the team, it's about the health of the team and the greater good. And it's kind of like both at once. You want your team, your culture to be positive, and maybe there are times when there isn't the right fit. Right. And sometimes we can stick our head in the sand as leaders and want to ignore that person or persons that isn't the right fit, and we hope it would just kind of go away or solve itself. And that, in terms of leadership and having the grit and the courage to make those tough decisions and still be a people first leader.
Yeah.
And that it's very possible. And actually, the faster you do it, the more respect you have from your team, your existing team.
Yeah,
sure. Because sometimes we think that, okay, if I could delay it, whatever, and you're only thinking of that one person, but we have to absolutely think both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that might be a good place to kind of wrap everything together. And I mean, I think it's been a great episode. But one question I would have for you kind of to leave things off with is, what piece of advice would you give to younger women, or even as a mother of 2 daughters? What's one piece of advice you would give them when they're starting out their career?
I would start to say by be kind to yourself. And I say it this way, meaning that I'm very in tune with how people think, and especially women think. And I say be kind to yourself, and be kind how you speak to yourself and what you say to yourself. Because it's not if I speak to you, I'm very kind and I'm, everything's great and I'm very encouraging. But oftentimes women especially, or people, maybe guys do it too, I don't know, but like what we say to ourselves, what we think about ourselves is often so negative.
Right.
And if we want something, if we want to go after something, in the example we gave earlier about looking at a list of qualifications and immediately discounting, focusing on what we don't have.
Yeah.
If we're kind to ourselves, we're going to look at what we do have.
Right.
And if we focus on what we do have, there's a lot of gratitude and a lot of growth that can come out of that, versus not being kind to ourselves and looking at what we don't have.
That's a great way to finish things off.
Thank you.
Actually, I don't think we are done, because I have one
sorry.
more question.
Jump the gun.
So,
I'm sorry.
I was like, Kaylee,
This is great.
I still want to talk.
Well, sorry, Kendall. Go ahead. Maybe we're not done.
You go ahead, Kendall.
No.
What's your question?
You had the question.
Well, my question was, it's kind of our wrap-up question, which is, and it's a bit new. So we're asking, because we have a bit of an audience, or we are growing an audience, what is it that, if you could ask the industry or anyone who's listening, what is it that you need in this moment?
Yeah, I would say if there's something that I need, I wouldn't say it was something that I need, but what I would observe is what we need.
Sure, yes.
And I'm going to say we, meaning being in real estate. I consider myself part of the real estate industry and the finance side. And where we are here in Toronto, it is the worst time ever. And that's not an exaggeration, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Facts, right?
No, it's been tough.
And what we need as professionals in the industry right now is really coming together and knowing that, like, this will not last.
Right.
Right. And there's a lot of people who it's really, really difficult. And becoming a community, like, and supporting each other. And that's something that I know for me that I've been intentional. I try to be intentional about, but coming together and figuring out how we're going to get our housing affordability crisis solved and house more Canadians. But yeah, really coming together to support each other in this low time in the industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has been tough. So I think, community within our industry is very important at this moment. Yeah. Natasha, is there anything that you want to add, or anything that we didn't cover or talk about that you want to speak to?
What I would say around leadership is, often we think of leadership as a position, and that's how we're trained as a society. The leader is the one in charge. That's a position. And that's when we start showing up as a leader. But one of the things that I've learned and I've observed, and partly through my coaching that I've invested time in, is that leading yourself, and wherever you are in the organization, that you're a leader.
Yeah.
So if you're like the clerk or the customer service person at the front desk, you are a leader. And to encourage everyone in our organizations to act like they're a leader. Because often we think, okay, well, when I'm the boss, I would do it this way.
Right.
But we need to live that as live a leadership lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because that really what creates good leaders.
Yeah.
So if there was someone, say there was a clerk, and they want to take that practice into play, like how do they do that? Like, what do they say to themselves, or what are those little things that are leader focused, or that they can do to kind of switch that over? Are there things that you recommend?
Yeah, I would say I would recommend, when you wake up in the morning and you think about the job you have, whatever the job is in this country, that's where it starts, right? And so you could think, oh, I'm just a customer service rep.
Right.
But versus, I am a person that helps people. I'm the first point of contact for this company, for this big builder or this big bank.
Right.
I'm the first point of contact. I get to influence that person and I own that moment with that person. And that is leadership right there, one-on-one. And so it starts with how you think about where you are in any role or any environment. And maybe it's not a job, maybe it's something else, but how you think about where you are is how you start to change your outlook and seeing yourself as a leader and owning and taking responsibility for what is in your control. And so that might be a customer that's upset or a mistake that was made that's totally not your fault, but they're screaming at you, right? I'm sure you guys have that. You know?
No, never.
And the natural human instinct is to look to blame someone else, but to own it and own it on behalf of your company or your team or whatever, and take responsibility. It's not you personally making the mistake, but you owning that customer is not satisfied, and then owning that you're going to help find a solution.
Right.
So that's an example of all of that. And even though you're not the one that's going to make the decision to happen, but you'll own getting it to the next person or own the next step.
Yeah.
And that's all leadership built in there.
Absolutely. It doesn't get anywhere without you starting that process kind of thing. So yeah, I like that. That's great. All right. Well, that's our show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in listening to further episodes, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Instagram at thereal.to podcast, as well as LinkedIn. And if you're interested in sponsorship, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Bye.